Hi everybody, welcome back to a reread of the Hunger Games Book 1. I am going to be covering chapters 19 through 24 today, so let's dive in. In chapter 19, Katniss obviously had yelled Peeta's name, so this chapter starts with her realizing why she did that. Is she crazy? She's still in the arena, and she thinks Peeta is playing the star-crossed lover bit like this entire time, and she just wonders why else would the game makers have a reason to change the rule that it could be like 2 tributes instead of 1. And I quote, "For 2 tributes to have a shot at winning, the romance must be so popular with the audience that condemning it would jeopardize a successful games." I think the Capitol or like the game makers are realizing like they are kind of not necessarily falling into the star-crossed lover bit, but it's just so popular that if they just kill them off, then the people or like the public is gonna like hate them for it essentially. So she thinks Peeta was helping keep her alive, and she knows that there obviously are cameras everywhere, so she looks up and she smiles so everybody could see. So at this point in the games, it's the girl from 5, which Katniss names Foxface. There's Thresh from District 11, Rue's district, Cato, and the girl from their district 2. Her name is Clove, and it's Katniss and Peeta. Katniss gets some sleep, she eats breakfast, and she is just trying to think of where in the arena Peeta could be, and she realizes he could be at the stream. She goes to the stream, and she is just walking around slightly like whisper yelling his name, and she finds Peeta, but he is camouflaged in like mud and like trees and dirt. She tries to get him out, but he can barely walk because Cato, with like all the scuffle that was happening with the tracker jackers, obviously Peeta had ran and helped Katniss get away, and I guess Cato like sliced his leg. So once Katniss finds him, Peeta kind of just makes a joke that there are cameras whenever she wants to kiss him, like she could kiss him whenever, and he is so weak that he can barely move on his own. So Katniss like cleans him up, takes off his clothes, washes him in the water, and they find like a cave that they could like stay in. So it's like late afternoon by this point. They are already by the stream. Katniss kisses him very impulsively, and because of that kiss, they get like parachutes. So a parachute came down, and it's medicine for Peeta's leg. So in chapter 20, Katniss obviously sees that Peeta's leg is a lot worse. It's swollen, it's red, he has a fever. She thinks that whatever Cato used was poison from the tracker jackers. Peeta basically asked her to tell him a story, so Katniss tells him the story of how they got Prim's goat, obviously censoring it and changing it up for the cameras because then everybody would know she hunts illegally. So after the storytelling, there was an announcement, and they get an invitation for a feast, and they're gonna have like, I think it's like kind of like backpacks or like a satchel for each district because it's based on what the tributes need. So in this instance, it would be medicine, food for Peeta and Katniss. Peeta does not want Katniss to go. He is saying, no, you're gonna get yourself killed. Don't kill yourself for me. Don't get yourself killed. Katniss is playing the lovey-dovey role, I would say, which is not easier for her. So she is like just being very lovable and kisses him and is like with him, and that causes another parachute to come down, and she puts a drop of the liquid on her tongue, and she realizes that it is sleep syrup. So she essentially drugs Peeta with it by putting it on like berries that are good to eat. As he's eating them, he is asking like what kind of berries they are, and she lies and says that they're just sweet berries that she found. So as he's like getting sleepy, he realizes that she's being drugged, unfortunately. So Katniss, once he's asleep, she just feels very guilty. In chapter 21, it ends up with Katniss heading back towards the cornucopia, which is where they're gonna have like the feast and the bags with the like supplies for whoever's left in the games for the tributes. So she runs to the cornucopia. She kind of hid the cave with like rock, like the entrance to the cave with like rocks and tree like branches and stuff. So that way like Peeta could be safe, but she's obviously worried for him because he's hurt, he's in a vulnerable position. At the feast, Katniss grabs the backpack, but she's attacked by Clove from District 2, who is like the girl tribute alongside Cato. So she's attacked, and Clove is on top of her. She's like about to get her with a knife. She basically starts taunting Katniss about Rue and her death and kind of bragging about how Rue was killed. And then Thresh suddenly appears and kills Clove to protect Katniss because of what she did for Rue and like the dignity that Katniss had given Rue at the time of her death. Thresh, he says it's for the little girl and tells her to run, so Katniss gets the bag and she escapes. This chapter specifically really shows like the alliance and like the power that it has, and like for Rue's lasting impact, especially with what Katniss did for her. And I think Thresh, like his mercy showed more humanity in the games. So in chapter 22, Katniss gets back to the cave, but she completely passes out. She had the medicine for Peeta, and I believe that next morning she wakes up. Peeta was like waking her up. He looks a lot better because he used the like medicine that Katniss had grabbed for him, and she had gotten hurt because she was lying. According to Peeta, she was lying in a pool of her blood, which is what kind of caused her to pass out. But it's okay because Peeta is starting to recover very quickly thanks to the medicine. His fever broke, and he is feeling slightly better, especially Katniss and her wound that she got from like that fire. She is using it, and it's helping her too. So they kind of continue like that romance for the sponsors. Katniss realizes that she has to make it believable, so she's kind of like all over Peeta, telling him like little stories, but at the same time she is still thinking about Gale. So with Katniss and Gale, they have been friends for a year or two, and Katniss is basically just thinking like, what is Gale thinking? Is he watching? Is he believing any of it? And she kind of just remembers like the moments in the winter, like hunting with Gale. They are best friends, but she kind of thinks, well, would he be my boyfriend if I were open to it? And just like conflicting feelings about Gale back home, her best friend, and then this fake love between her and Peeta, obviously for show, for the cameras. Chapter 23. So while they're in the cave, as I said, her and Peeta are just talking, and they start talking about the games, and they talk about Haymitch and how he might have won his games. Katniss realizes he outsmarted them, and they probably were mad and did not like it. Peeta regains his strength, and they plan to hunt together. Katniss is like planning on showing him how to hunt. And that kind of turns into like a thing where he just has like a heavy footsteps, and he is just very loud while hunting. So they start like gathering food, getting like little food supplies, rabbits. Katniss hunts them, and then she'll cook them. So as they're gathering food, they realize a cannon goes off, and they think Cato killed Clove, or Thresh killed Clove, but in fact it was some poisonous berries that Peeta had found. He was about to eat them, and then Katniss kind of like told him not to because they're poisonous, and Peeta feels bad because that's like his first official kill, and Katniss just tells him it was an accident because Clove was smart, but she wasn't that smart. She was following them. Obviously she didn't know that those berries were poisonous. So in this chapter, they talked about how Thresh had died because Cato was strong enough to take him on. So it is down to the final 3 tributes. It is Katniss, Peeta, and Cato. In chapter 24, so this is where the games take a more brutal psychological toll. Like it really like switches up. Peeta and Katniss are spending time at the cave. They figure, why wait? Let's just find Cato and end it, because the rule change is going to allow the 2 tributes to be able to win as long as they're from the same district. So they eat their food, pack their stuff. They are basically in search of Cato, and then Peeta kind of just yells. They already have like all their stuff packed up, and as they're going to go search for Cato just to end the games, Katniss is just thinking, wasn't he always the one to kill? Meaning Cato was always the main one that she not necessarily wanted to kill, but she knew he was a career. He was the team leader. He was in charge of the group, and everybody else was essentially collateral damage in not her mind. She knows that they were people, but it's just one of those things. Like, she just keeps thinking, well, it would always come down to him. Katniss does a signal with the Mockingjays. It's the 3-note signal that was ruse, and that would signify like the end of the shift in District 11. So Cato comes rushing through the trees, and he has some kind of body armor, and he is just running away. And Katniss and Peeta realize that the game makers release terrifying mutations, and they're very like wolf-like, but something isn't quite right with them. And this is where chapter 24 ends. So they are just trying to run away from the mutations. Hello everybody, as I am editing this, I completely forgot to add in my outro. Please comment, like, subscribe for more. I will be breaking down the rest of the Hunger Games books leading up to Sunrise on the Reaping. Please follow along with me.